February 16, 2003. Antwerp, Belgium. The diamond capital of the world. Inside the Antwerp Diamond Center, buried for floors underground behind layers of steel, motion detectors, heat sensors, and a vault door weighing 10 tons, set over $100 million worth of diamonds, gold, and precious gems. The vault was considered impenetrable. It had never been breached in its 30-year history. Security experts called it one of the most secure facilities on Earth. Over a single weekend, a crew of thieves walked in and walked out with everything, leaving barely a trace. They didn't use explosives. They didn't use violence. They used patience, precision, and a strategy borrowed from the guerrilla warfare tactics of the Apache: strike fast, strike smart, and disappear into the shadows. This is the story of the most audacious diamond heist in history, the master thief who planned it for years, and the single tiny mistake that brought the entire operation crashing down. The Antwerp Diamond Center wasn't just any vault. Located in the heart of Belgium's diamond district, it housed safety deposit boxes for hundreds of the world's wealthiest diamond merchants. The security was legendary. To even reach the vault, you had to pass through a reinforced steel gate requiring a key and numeric code, a motion detector covering every inch of the hallway, a heat sensor that could detect body temperature changes, a light sensor that triggered alarms if light patterns changed, a seismic sensor embedded in the floor to detect footsteps, magnetic sensors on the vault door itself, and finally a massive combination lock with over 100 million possible combinations. The vault door alone weighed over 10 tons. It was designed to be mathematically impossible to crack. But nothing is truly impossible if you have enough time, enough patience, and enough inside knowledge. Enter Leonardo Notarbartolo. Leonardo was a 51-year-old Italian with a reputation in certain circles. He wasn't a smash-and-grab thief. He was an artist. A planner. A man who'd spent decades studying security systems like a scholar studies ancient texts. And for 2 years before the heist, Leonardo had been preparing. He rented an office inside the Antwerp Diamond Center itself, posing as a legitimate diamond merchant. He became a familiar face, trusted, invisible. And every single day, he studied. He watched. He waited. Leonardo couldn't pull this off alone. He assembled a crew of specialists, each one the best at what they did. There was the genius and alarm specialist who could bypass security systems most people couldn't even understand. The king of keys, the locksmith who could replicate any key from just a photograph. The monster of a mechanic and driver who would handle logistics and the getaway. And several others whose real names have never been confirmed. Together, they developed a plan that would take 2 years to execute. Phase 1: Intelligence Gathering. Leonardo used his position inside the building to study every security measure. He took photos. He memorized guard schedules. He learned the patterns of when the vault was busiest and when it was empty. He even befriended security guards, learned about their lives, gained their trust. Phase 2: Defeating the security. This is where the plan became brilliant. The motion detector. Leonardo discovered it could be fooled by spraying hairspray to create a fine mist that reflected the infrared beam, making the system think nothing was moving when it actually was. The heat sensor. They planned the heist in winter and brought a portable heater to mask their body heat signatures. The light sensor. They would use a simple polyester shield to block light changes. The magnetic sensors. They brought powerful magnets to confuse the readings. The seismic sensors in the floor. They learned the exact pressure threshold and moved with calculated, deliberate steps. The combination lock. This was the masterpiece. Leonardo had secretly installed a tiny camera in the hallway, angled perfectly to capture the vault manager entering the combination over several months. Frame by frame, they decoded it. Every security measure, defeated not by force, but by intelligence. Friday, February 14, 2003. Valentine's Day weekend. Leonardo knew the Diamond Center would be quieter than usual. Many merchants would be away. Security would be lighter. At 10:30 p.m., when the building was nearly empty, the crew made their move. They entered through a back entrance using a copied key. They moved through the hallways like ghosts, their footsteps measured, their breathing controlled. When they reached the vault level, they deployed their countermeasures one by one. Hairspray for the motion detector, check. Portable heater for the heat sensor, check. Polyester shield for the light sensor, check. They approached the massive vault door. The King of Keys produced a replica of the vault manager's key, crafted from photographs Leonardo had taken months earlier. It slid into the lock perfectly. Then came the combination. The numbers Leonardo had painstakingly decoded from hours of surveillance footage. The wheel turned, click, click, click. The 10-ton door swung open. They were inside. For the next 10 hours, the crew worked methodically. They drilled open safety deposit boxes with surgical precision. They filled duffel bags with diamonds, gold bars, jewelry, and cash. They knew exactly which boxes held the most valuable items. Leonardo had spent 2 years identifying the wealthiest clients. By dawn on Saturday morning, they had filled multiple bags with over $100 million worth of valuables. Then they did something remarkable. They cleaned up. They removed their tools. They swept for evidence. They wanted to leave the scene as pristine as possible to delay discovery. At 5:47 a.m., they walked out of the Antwerp Diamond Center carrying the largest diamond heist in history. The vault door was closed behind them. The security systems showed no breaches. Everything appeared normal. It would be Monday morning before anyone realized what had happened. Monday, February 17th, 8:15 a.m. A diamond merchant named Ernst Levin arrived at the vault to access his safety deposit box. When the vault manager opened the door, they immediately knew something was wrong. Boxes hung open. Debris littered the floor. The largest heist in Belgian history had occurred, and no alarms had been triggered. The police were called immediately. When investigators arrived, they were stunned. Lead detective Patrick Pease had worked major crimes for 20 years, but he'd never seen anything like this. Every security measure had been defeated. There was almost no physical evidence. Whoever did this was a professional. The investigation began immediately, but there were no leads. No fingerprints. No DNA. No witnesses. The thieves had vanished like smoke. Insurance companies panicked. Diamond merchants demanded answers. The Belgian government was embarrassed that their most secure facility had been compromised so completely. For weeks, the investigation went nowhere. Then came the break that changed everything. On March 2nd, 2 weeks after the heist, a man was walking his dog in a forest preserve about 30 kilometers from Antwerp. His dog discovered a bag half buried in leaves near a drainage ditch. Inside was what appeared to be trash, empty food containers, receipts, tape, and plastic bags. But there was also something else, a handful of diamonds and a receipt with a name. The man called police. Detective Pease recognized the significance immediately. This wasn't just trash, this was evidence from the heist. The thieves had stopped to dispose of garbage from their operation, and in their haste or arrogance, they'd missed a few pieces of evidence. Among the items recovered, a videotape with surveillance footage Leonardo had recorded inside the building. Receipts from local stores with timestamps matching the heist weekend. DNA evidence on food containers. Most importantly, a receipt for the rental office space in Leonardo Notarbartolo's name. The investigation suddenly had a name. Within days, Belgian police had identified Leonardo and tracked him to his apartment in Italy. On March 8th, Italian and Belgian authorities raided his home. They found a treasure trove of evidence, photos of the vault, copies of keys, security system diagrams, and contact information for his crew members. Leonardo and 3 members of his crew were arrested within the week. Leonardo Notarbartolo's trial began in 2005. The evidence was overwhelming. The planning documents, the surveillance footage, the DNA, the testimony from witnesses who'd seen the crew in Antwerp that weekend. But there was one problem: most of the diamonds were never recovered. Of the estimated $100 million stolen, police only recovered about $20 million worth of jewels and gold. Leonardo refused to reveal where the rest went. He claimed he was working for someone else, that he was just a hired hand, that the real mastermind was someone the police had never even identified. He called this mysterious figure the genius of geniuses and insisted he had no idea who he really was or where the diamonds ended up. Prosecutors didn't buy it. Leonardo Notarbartolo was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison. 3 of his crew members received similar sentences. He was released in 2009 after serving 5 years. And to this day, he maintains his story. He insists there was a shadowy figure pulling the strings, someone who walked away with $80 million in diamonds and was never caught. The Apache diamond heist, as it became known for its guerrilla-style precision, remains one of the greatest thefts in history. The Antwerp Diamond Center completely overhauled its security. New biometric systems, constant surveillance, multiple redundancies. But the damage was done. The myth of the impenetrable vault was shattered. As for Leonardo Notarbartolo, he disappeared after his release from prison. Some say he's living quietly in Italy. Others believe he recovered hidden diamonds and is living in luxury somewhere under a new identity. The truth? We may never know. But somewhere out there, possibly in a safe or buried in a forest or locked in another vault, sits $80 million worth of diamonds that have never been found, and that, perhaps, is the most perfect part of the perfect crime. Thanks for watching. And be sure to subscribe for more true stories like this.